The 2027 Chevrolet Silverado is about to change everything we thought we knew about full-size trucks. With 4 powertrain options, including an all-new V8 family and a plug-in hybrid that virtually nobody in the truck industry expected, Chevrolet is making one of its boldest moves ever. If you've been holding off on a new truck because the current Silverado's engines felt outdated, unreliable, or simply too costly to fuel week after week, what GM has engineered for 2027 may be exactly what you've been waiting for. Most buyers expect a new truck generation to bring modest updates to familiar engines, but the 2027 Silverado is retiring 2 of its most iconic V8s, introducing a plug-in hybrid that was never supposed to exist, and delivering the only diesel powertrain available in any half-ton truck on the market today. Number 4. Brand new plug-in hybrid. A few years ago, GM's direction seemed clear. The full-size truck lineup was moving toward battery electric vehicles, combustion was winding down, and the market was expected to follow. Then, EV adoption slowed dramatically. Demand projections fell well short of expectations. The all-electric strategy suddenly looked far less certain than it had on paper, and the path GM had largely ignored, gradual electrification through plug-in hybrid technology, turned out to be exactly what truck buyers were actually asking for. One of the most common complaints from full-size truck buyers over the last few years has been simple. The fuel bill doesn't match the workload. You're filling up a tank this size every few days, pulling weight with a vehicle that gets 16 miles per gallon on a good day, and the cost adds up quickly. A mild hybrid nudges the number slightly and changes very little. That's exactly what a full plug-in hybrid system is designed to solve. Real electric range covering short daily hauls, full combustion performance available the moment the load demands it, and a weekly fuel spend that finally starts reflecting the technology under the hood. GM is confirming that the 6th generation small block V8 engines will be integrating hybrid and plug-in hybrid technology backed by an $888 million investment at the Tonawanda propulsion plant in New York. This is not a hybrid system retrofitted onto an existing engine. The electrification is being engineered into the new architecture from day one. Towing capacity on the 2027 generation is heading beyond the 14,000-pound barrier, and the plug-in hybrid setup is being engineered to carry its full share of that number without compromise. For a segment where every major rival is still figuring out how to electrify without pushing away their core buyer, this is GM's most significant competitive move in recent memory. But a plug-in hybrid is only as credible as the engine family it's built around, and what GM is doing with that engine family is something the competition never saw coming. Number 3. Next generation small block. There was a period when nobody was certain GM would actually build this engine. The industry had been leaning towards smaller displacement turbocharged units. The aging 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter engines still had their following, but they were being technically outpaced by newer approaches from Ford and Ram. The logical expectation was a refresh. What GM is actually delivering is a clean sheet engine family, and the commitment behind it is $888 million. Here is the part most V8 buyers understand without needing to be told. Dropping below highway speed on a grade while hauling a loaded trailer, feeling the engine work harder than it should, and watching the fuel economy reading fall into single digits is a frustration no spec sheet can fully capture. That gap between what a truck is rated for and what it actually feels like under sustained load is where many current Silverado owners have run into disappointment. The new 5.7-liter small block is being engineered specifically to close that gap with stronger output, improved thermal management, and better combustion efficiency working together rather than against each other. The 6th generation of GM's small block V8 arrives in 2 displacements, 5.7 liters and 6.6 liters. The 5.7 liter is the Silverado's engine, replacing both the 5.3 and the 6.2 under a single, more advanced architecture. Engineers are targeting roughly 6% better fuel economy than the outgoing engines, alongside stronger power delivery through new combustion and thermal management solutions. The outgoing 5.3-liter produces 355 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. The 5.7-liter is expected to exceed both figures. The 6.6-liter version is being developed primarily for high-performance applications, including the Corvette, which means the engineering standard for this entire family is set well above the truck segment's typical requirements. For Silverado buyers, the 5.7 is arriving as a genuine step forward. More displacement, better efficiency, stronger output, and none of that. the cylinder deactivation lifter failure history that made the previous generation V8s expensive beyond 100,000 miles. That said, a significant portion of Silverado buyers have never needed 8 cylinders to begin with, and the engine sitting one slot below this one makes a stronger argument for that group than many people expect. Number 2. 2.7-liter Turbo 4. Not every Silverado buyer is running a V8 calculation. The 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder has been one of the most frequently selected options in the current generation, not as a compromise entry but as a deliberate choice. It carries real numbers: 310 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque, and towing capacity reaching 9,500 pounds in its current form. The 2027 version is carrying over with incremental improvements to both output and efficiency. Most truck owners aren't towing every day. They're driving this vehicle to work, running errands, and covering the same 30 miles of commute 5 days a week. And every one of those trips is consuming fuel from a tank sized for hauling heavy loads. That mismatch between daily use and daily cost is exactly where the 2.7-liter makes its strongest argument. At 430 pound-feet of torque, it's producing more low-end pulling force than many naturally aspirated V8s, which means the capability is genuine when you need it, and the efficiency advantage is real on every trip when you don't. The 2027 Silverado's entry-level WT trim is expected to start around $40,000. At that figure, the 2.7-liter represents the most accessible path into a truck that has been completely rebuilt with a new exterior, a new interior, and a revised platform. Without the additional investment that V8 or hybrid options will require, this engine is going to move the most volume in the new generation. The efficiency refinements arriving for 2027 are projected to strengthen the ownership case even further. But if long-distance mileage and towing endurance are what you're actually measuring your next truck against, the powertrain closing this list is the one no rival can offer at any price point. And that's not a small detail. Number 1. 3.0-liter inline-6 diesel. The 3.0-liter Duramax Turbo Diesel inline-6 is staying. In the context of this specific powertrain lineup, that confirmation carries more weight than a simple carryover might suggest. Scan the half-ton segment today. No competing truck is offering a diesel option. Ram discontinued the eco-diesel. Ford never brought a diesel to the current F-150 generation. That leaves the 2027 Silverado occupying a position no rival can match. The only half-ton truck available with a diesel engine is now paired with a completely redesigned platform. For a buyer covering 40,000 miles a year, running consistent loads over long distances and measuring every fill-up against a work budget that doesn't have room to flex, fuel cost per mile is not a secondary concern. It's the primary concern. Every extra mile per gallon matters, and every additional mile of range before a fill-up changes the equation. That's where the 3.0-liter Duramax operates at a level nothing else in this class can reach. Rated at 305 horsepower and 495 pound-feet of torque, it produces more twist than every gasoline option in the half-ton segment, including the new V8s arriving alongside it. That torque arrives low in the rev range with confident pulling on grades, steady composure under sustained heavy load, and towing behavior that gasoline engines in this class simply don't replicate. The range advantage adds even more separation. The 2027 Silverado's diesel configuration is projected to support up to 1,000 miles per tank, a figure that completely reframes the refueling calculation for buyers covering serious interstate distances. Paired with the new platform's improved structural rigidity and revised suspension calibration, the Duramax is also expected to deliver a more refined driving experience than the current generation, addressing the one consistent criticism that has followed this engine since its introduction. With no diesel competition anywhere in the half-ton segment, the 3.0-liter Duramax arrives as the 2027 Silverado's most exclusive option and its clearest advantage over every truck currently sharing a sales floor with it. The 2027 Chevrolet Silverado's powertrain lineup is covering more ground than any previous generation of this truck. The 2.7-liter Turbo 4 handles daily work with torque figures that rival naturally aspirated V8s while starting at a price point that keeps the truck accessible. The new 5.7-liter small block replaces 2 aging engines with one cleaner, stronger, and more modern architecture backed by $888 million in development. The plug-in hybrid takes that same new engine family and layers in real-world electrification without sacrificing the towing capacity or range that half-ton buyers actually depend on. And the 3.0-liter Duramax carries over into this new generation as the only diesel.